On this video I'll be showing you how to set up your Sinden Light Gun for use with a Batocera light gun build, and this one I'll be using a 230GB Batocera light gun build made by the light gun Lunatics, and this covers most consoles that support light gun games. Not all of them, but a good selection. Most of these, that for all you railgun shooter fans out there, will be familiar with a lot of these games. If this is the first time you've heard of a Sinden Light Gun, well, this is the first true LCD compatible light gun, providing all the functionality and game experience of a original CRT light gun without requiring additional hardware such as an infrared sensor bar. The one that I'm currently using has Recoil inbuilt. This is slightly more expensive than the one that doesn't have recoil, but the good thing is with this one is that you can enable it or disable recoil if you find it too loud. This only requires one USB, so the recoil also powers with the same connection, unlike some old light guns where they would need to have a separate power connection just to get the recoil to work. This is also compatible for PC, Raspberry Pi, Android and Mac. You can also get a Sinden arcade foot pedal for that real arcade experience. Now that you got your Sinden gun, it's time to play your favorite arcade rail shooters like Time Crisis, House of the Dead, Virtual Cop, Point Blank and Area 51. But first we need the right build to be able to play these games. There's a lot of configuration when it comes to controls with the Sinden gun, so don't expect a plug and play experience when you're dealing with several different emulators that have different requirements and settings for their controls. The good thing is we have Batocera, and Batocera is basically a front end similar to RetroPie, Emulation Station, Launchbox and CoinOps. Batocera is Linux based and it also runs standalone, so you would need a hard drive to burn the image or write the image onto the hard drive and boot from the hard drive itself. So you can make a Batocera build from scratch and add some of the ROMs that you want to, but luckily the team at Arcade Punks provide pre-made builds where they compile all the light gun games that are compatible with the Sinden gun and the controls are already configured. And they also make it look pretty with artwork and metadata, which makes it a lot easier to navigate and choose what game you want to play. So I'm going to show you how to set this all up. If you've just got your Sinden gun and you don't know what to do with it, this tutorial is probably going to be pretty easy because most of the hard work is already done for us. We just need to burn the image onto a hard drive, load it up and plug and play. So the Batocera build that we'll be using is this 230GB light gun build made for PC or the Steam Deck, and this has about 380 games in total. The good thing about this build is that it does have Wii support, PS2 and PS3. I've used older builds before and I wasn't able to get Wii working, and they didn't have any PS2 or PS3 games, because I think at that point there was no support for PS2 games for the Sinden guns, but now it seems to be working fine. So the first thing what we need to do is download this build right here from the Light Gun Lunatics. It does take a while. You do need to register with Arcade Punks before you download this. Currently, as of December 2024, there's enough seeds out there that this will download quite quickly. You're going to need a SD card or SSD external hard drive. I'm actually using just this 320 gig 2.5 laptop hard drive, which I pulled out from a broken laptop, and I'm using an enclosure with a SATA cable, and this is actually the cheapest way of doing this. You need something that's more than 256. If you end up getting a USB drive that's 256GB, you're only gonna have like 230 gigs, I think, once you format it, and it won't be big enough to write on that drive. So make sure if you're using a hard drive like I am, a 2.5, that it's at least 320 gigs. If you're using a SSD drive, then maybe a 400GB. Same with the flash drive, I would use a 400GB one and not a 256GB one. Next we need to download this program called Balena Etcher, and this will write our Linux based image onto our hard drive. This will format and create the correct partitions for it to be able to boot up by itself. So go ahead and just download whether you're using Windows or a Mac or even a Linux based system. All the download links are here. Once you've downloaded the Light Gun build, go ahead and extract it. I suggest using 7-zip to extract it all, and this will take a little while. This took me about an hour to extract it all, but if you got an SSD then maybe it'll be a bit quicker. Once extracted, you'll see a image file which is about 234GB in size. Now we need to boot up Balena Etcher. Next we need to connect the hard drive into our computer, and I'm just going to check the name of the drive just so I know what it's called, so I don't end up formatting the wrong drive. So to do this, just go onto disk management, find your drive. This is mine, 298 gigs is what I have left. I'm going to right click and go onto properties, and from there it will tell me what the drive is called, ST932032. And now I can load up Balena Etcher, and we want to click on flash from file, locate the Batocera image, and next I'm going to select target. So it's come up with our hard drive, and as you can see it's the 320GB one with the same name that we saw earlier. Select the drive and then select flash. It's going to ask if you want to format this, and I already have an old Batocera Light Gun image on that drive, but we're going to overwrite this. Now this procedure does take a while. This took me roughly about an hour and a half to 2 hours to verify everything, but once it's done it will just say finish. So now I've got the Batocera image written on the hard drive. I'm going to be using a Legion Go with a docking station to plug it in. But if you're using a PC or a Steam Deck, then it's pretty much the same thing. Just plug it into a free USB slot, and from here what we need to do is change the boot order of your system. So if you're using a PC, then press like F10 or F11 to bring up the boot order, and we want to boot from the USB drive first. If you're using a Steam Deck, then you need to press power and up, I think it is, or power and volume down. Hold those together to change the boot order. The Legion Go, I would have to press power and hold the volume up button, and from there I can change the boot order. This is the first time I've tried to boot this up using the Legion Go, and I have come across this issue here where it says verification failed, security violation. So if you have the same problem, and if you're using a Legion Go, then we need to go back onto the BIOS menu. Just going to turn this off, press power and volume up together. Right, we want to select BIOS setup. Click on more settings. We need to click on security on the left side. Scroll down until you see secure boot. On default this is enabled, and I'm guessing if you have a similar issue that's not on the Legion Go, if you get the blue screen that says verification failed, then it's most likely your secure boot is enabled. So we just need to disable that, exit, save changes, and now this should boot back up onto the Batocera image. So I do have a monitor hooked up to the dock via HDMI, but because this is the first boot sequence of this hard drive, then I'm gonna have to change a few settings here. As you can see, the rotation of the screen is to the side and there's no image coming from my monitor. So the easiest way to navigate through Batocera's menu is to use a controller. I'm just using a Xbox 360 wired controller to navigate through the menus. So by pressing start and going down to system settings, scroll down until you see hardware, and we need to change the screen rotation. So for some reason the Legion Go needs the screen rotation set to 270 degrees, and now we have a landscape picture, which is good. but I do also need to set this to output onto the monitor that I'm using. So go back onto system settings and change the video output to display port. Now we should have a nice looking front end where we can browse all the games that's currently available on this build. We were also greeted with some pretty cool video previews for all the games. We can also change the theme if you would like to by pressing start and going into user interface, and from there we can change how the front end looks. If you aren't getting sound from your TV or monitor, then it's probably your audio settings. So press start and go onto system settings, find hardware and change the sound to your HDMI connection. Now if you're wondering why you aren't getting any recoil feedback at the moment, it's probably because you haven't changed the settings under game controls. So we need to turn this on, because automatically it's just set to auto and sometimes it doesn't detect whether a game is or has recoil or not. To do this, press start, go to controller and Bluetooth settings, go down to Sinden Gun settings, and here we have a bunch of other settings as well. So we can change the border size, make it thin, medium or big. I've changed it to thin because I don't really like the white border around it, because sometimes it's a bit distracting. You can change the border color as well, border mode, camera contrast and brightness. Camera exposure, I guess changing some of these settings will help if you're playing during the day or if you're playing in a low lit room, then the Sinden Gun can adjust accordingly depending on your environment. What we want to do is change the recoil to, I prefer quiet gun, just because I find changing it to gun, it's super loud. So just for example, here is what quiet gun sounds like. Now here is what quiet machine gun sounds like. Now normal gun sound, which is super loud. And then normal machine gun sound. So maybe if you have these set up in your own arcade, then maybe change it to like normal volume levels, but quiet seems to be the best for the daytime, but maybe nighttime quiet recoil is still going to be pretty loud. So if you have someone sleeping in the same room or they're trying to watch a film, I would suggest just turning recoil off, because it does get loud after a while. So that's pretty much all you need to do to get it up and running. Now we can try out some games. So the first game I tried was Time Crisis Project Titan for the PS1. This actually ran flawlessly using this monitor. It felt almost like a G-Con gun while playing on a CRT TV. The recoil feels really snappy. It feels like a bit of plastic is kind of hitting something inside of the gun. It doesn't feel as solid as the arcade guns, where they actually have like a metal rail or something that actually gives that punch. But considering this is running off just this single USB cable, it's really nice to have that recoil as an option. I was excited to try out some of the Wii games, because on the previous builds, Wii games, they weren't supported for the Sinden guns and you had to use a Wii remote, as well as a Mayflash wireless Wii to PC sensor. But now the Sinden games can play these Wii games, which is pretty cool. So I tried out House of the Dead Overkill. I was having a good time, but I realized that my lights behind the monitor, they were kind of interrupting the sensor from the Sinden gun. So having any kind of light behind the monitor, you can see the shots were not consistent and my aim was kind of all over the place. As soon as I turned off the lights behind my monitor, you can see I was getting a more of a consistent shot and my aim wasn't going crazy at all. So the Sinden gun is sensitive to lights, so be aware of that. I think the best time to play this is probably at night, where there isn't any other light source. I seem to be getting pretty good results in a very dim situation, but that's where you can change the settings under the Sinden controls. So if you're wondering why your aim is completely off or why your aim is moving by itself, it's most likely your environment, what lights you got on at the back, and I guess how close you are to the monitor, because I had some issues with PS3. I wasn't able to get a good aim system going. It seemed to not register any of my shots. I did also have some graphical issues with some PS3 games, but I don't know if that's because I'm using my Legion Go on a dock where I only have like 30 watts to work with the horsepower of the Legion Go. So maybe if I plug this in on a PC using my 4070, I would probably get much smoother results. But everything else ran smoothly. Another thing to consider is that I am using an older 2.5 hard drive, and if this is running on an SSD, I think things would load much quicker. Another issue that I came across is whenever the Batocera went idle, went to screensaver mode, the Sinden gun would just disconnect by itself and it wouldn't recognize when I'm shooting. So to remedy this, all I had to do is disconnect the USB and plug it back in again, and then it seemed to reset and work again. I don't know if this is a setting that I need to change on the Batocera settings menu, but that is something to be aware of if you realize your gun isn't working, and instead of restarting the whole system, just take it out of the USB slot and plug it back in again, and it will recalibrate. So right now I'm going to switch to the big TV now. So I'm going to change the HDMI cable and switch over to my main TV. Alright, so I got this hooked up to the big screen now, and we're just testing out on everyone's favourite rail shooter, Time Crisis. This is running on the LG 48-inch C2 TV. So far seems to be quite responsive, but sometimes it doesn't recognize the TV for some reason. So I think I need to stand back. I think I'm too close to the TV. So at the moment I've got the recoil set to quiet gun, and it's still pretty loud for it to be a quiet gun. But I do like the fact that it has recoil. For some reason if I hold it down it does, it triggers the machine gun effect. Not too sure why that is, but let's give this a shot. Let's see how accurate this is compared to the CIT Namco G-Con. It's obviously not going to be as good. So I can't seem to hit them. I don't know if I'm getting the angles right. It doesn't seem to be registering on the TV. I had no issues with the monitor, but yeah, I can't seem to hit him. Okay, let's restart this game. I'm going to unplug the Sinden gun, replug it back in. So when I shoot, it's not very accurate, so maybe standing closer will help. Not too sure what's going on. Another possibility could be the aspect ratio. Maybe I need to change that for the game settings, because again it's not working. Not getting any shots in. Try a different game. Another thing is my TV keeps kind of flickering in and out. Let's try a... Yeah, so it keeps doing that. I don't know why, but it's only when I navigate through the menu it flickers on and off. Let's try a Dreamcast game. It's not registering at all, as you can see. So Sinden Gun doesn't like this TV, it appears. Maybe let's change the resolution. Whoops. Okay, I don't think it liked the resolution being this high because it's going super slow and the audio is stuttering. Let's change that again. I think if I stick to 1920, it seems to be okay. Let's try this. Let's go for Naomi. Leaping the Third, the shooting game. Okay, this is somewhat better. I can actually shoot people. It's just figuring out where the border is. So maybe that's the resolution that I need to stick to. I'll go back and try Time Crisis in a second. But this actually works pretty well. Seems to be hard to go on the left side. Like, it's not perfect, but it does work, which is the main thing. So let's back out quickly. Okay, that seems to be okay. Okay, that is a lot better. I can actually shoot the arcade sign. It's not perfect, but it's kind of messing around with the resolution to get this to actually respond to your gun. Yeah, I can actually shoot him now. So resolution of, like, what is it, 1280 I think it was. That seemed to fix this issue. I'm about like a foot away, just over a foot away from the TV. This actually does feel like the arcade experience, I'm not gonna lie. It actually feels pretty good. Once you get the hang of like your borders, obviously you got your bezel, that's gonna be in the way. Finding the right sort of length or spacing where you're stood to the TV, then you can get a good experience from the Sinden gun. And the fact that I don't need an extra power cable like the old guns where you need to plug in a separate cable just for it to recoil, it's also a bonus. Oh, I forgot about that red guy on the left. Oh no. Let's try one more game. I'm going to stick with this resolution. Should try a PS2 game. Let's try Time Crisis 2. Let's give that a go. Let it flash. Okay, so it says missing BIOS, but I did try this before and it seemed to work bypassing it for some reason. Okay, so I'm guessing because this, I probably need to change the resolution for this game in order for this to work. So this is not going to work unless I find the right resolution. I don't think I can get that calibrated. I mean, I can change it to auto. Let's see if that fixes it. No, that doesn't seem to do anything. It flickers too much. I'm guessing it's trying to adjust to the resolution. It's not going to work. I'll just quickly try an FB Neo game, Aliens. No, that ain't working. The resolution is too small. So that's the only downside actually to using a big TV, is switching the resolution. I can see the cursor actually kind of (1280 by 720). Let's try this resolution. Okay, still no good, but the screen is a lot bigger. So I think I'm going to stop trying out on the big TV just because I think I'll be here all day trying to troubleshoot all of these games and getting these to work. It seems to work a lot better with a smaller screen. I didn't really have any issues with the monitor. So here's some POV footage just to show you some more gameplay. And as you can see, it's not always consistent. Sometimes some games, they just don't register your shots, or you're maybe too close to the screen, I'm not too sure. Maybe I need to change the resolution, but there is some tinkering involved while messing around with this build and using the Sinden Gun. The only thing that doesn't seem to work on this build is the Windows games, so I'm not too sure if that is supported for Wii remotes or the aim track guns. This is probably the best build that I've tried so far, and it's the most up to date, I believe. Not all consoles are supported, but there is enough to kind of keep you going. I didn't see games like Duck Hunt and Area 51. I also didn't see a silent scope in there. I'm not too sure if that's a license thing or it just doesn't work on a Sinden Gun itself, but those are the few games that I saw that were missing on this list. Overall, I had a really good experience using the Sinden Gun and this Batocera image, so I want to thank the guys that set this up and made this possible. This almost feels like you're using an old gun on a CRT TV, and I highly recommend for those railgun shooter fans out there to get yourself one of these guns. With the right setup and a arcade cabinet, you can really make yourself a nice shooter only arcade machine. I'm sure this gun is still getting support out there, so I'm hoping that in future builds we'll see some Techno Parrot games available for Batocera, but we'll see how that develops. You can pick one of these guns up for around £89.99 for the standard Sinden Gun, and the one with the recoil cost £139.99. They come in 4 different colours: blue, red, black and grey, but I prefer the blue one because it reminds me of the blue PlayStation 2 G-Con 2. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you do have any questions about the Sinden Gun or Batocera itself, then please comment down below and I'll try and get back to you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on another video.